Okay, we're ready to start our session focusing on the next generation. And the topic is the next generation ready to take charge? So we have, in this panel, delighted to say we have two alumni from Northeastern, not from Damore McKim, that's okay, we still love all of our graduates, from the College of Engineering. So we have Aashray Thatai, who has come from Delhi to participate in the summit. We really appreciate that. Aashray, welcome, and please join the stage. And his wife Aditi is also here with us. I want to give a shout out to Aditi and to Vidhan Bhaiya, who is a graduate of the 2020. Aashray is from 2013. They both went to engineering school. I knew Vidhan when he was a student. I had the pleasure of meeting him and spending some time with him. And I could see that he was a man with a mission, a man on the move. He was going to do interesting things. And sure enough, he's now at Harvard Business School in the second year of the program. And Aashray runs, with his family, a company that makes textile and apparel and a range of other products. And I had the pleasure of visiting his factory in Gurgaon. And he very kindly took me around, showed me everything that they do. This was before the U.S. imposed a 50% tariff on his products coming into the U.S. So he's smiling about it. I'm so glad to see he's able to laugh about it. But it certainly was, I'm sure, a very difficult time for the company. So with that, I'm going to let my colleague, my distinguished colleague, Kim Edelston, who's the Schultz Professor of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the Damore McKim School of Business. She is an expert on family business, on women entrepreneurs. She, in fact, does a lot of coaching, helping small businesses get off the ground. And she will moderate the session. And at the end of the session, she will make some remarks on how to promote innovation by the next generation of family business owners. With that, over to you, Kim.
Thank you, Ravi. So it's a pleasure to be here. So let me start by asking each one of you to introduce yourselves and tell us about your role in your family's business.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. I joined the family business in 2021. My father said, okay, come help with just one small thing in the business, which was supply chain. During December 2021, this was not a small thing. This was quite a large thing going on with the COVID-related disruptions. So I was tasked with managing relationships with our global suppliers. And so that involved me being on a plane 15, 20 days a month during peak COVID to ensure that it's almost like I'd be going to our suppliers and treating them like they were our customers. Please help us, please support us. And then you get in and then you start doing more and more within the organization. But that's how I started, and I spent 3 years doing that. Prior to that, I'd started a company which made footwear for people with diabetes. Kim helped us with getting us into a competition at eFest, which she kindly helped us go to, which we won some money and a Global Impact Award there. But that business, we made footwear for people with diabetes. Essentially, the premise is that over the last 3 minutes, 9 people have lost their feet due to diabetes. We could have saved 4 of them if they wore our footwear. So that was the idea. And our family's been in the footwear industry for the last 50-odd years. And so I believe we had this natural, unfair advantage to be able to innovate across various parts of the footwear supply chain to make sure we're able to create footwear that meets the functional needs and also looks good. And so that was my first experience of interacting with the family business. But although this was me being outside, but leveraging the entire breadth of our resources to continue to go build this business.
Aashray, tell us.
So, hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm Aashray. I am from New Delhi. It is lovely to come back to Boston. I have Aditi, my wife, with me, and Prateek and Aishu, who are also Northeastern alumni, just like I am. And it's good to see you all here. So, I am class of 2013. My company is called FA Home and Apparel Private Limited. We are India's leading textile for home as well as garment manufacturing exporters. Our market is Europe and US. So Professor Ravi actually got a chance to come to our factory back in India. After Northeastern, I worked outside the family business in a company called Williams Sonoma Inc. in Memphis. So after Boston, I went to Memphis, worked in a DC as an industrial engineer. And then I moved back home 2013. And this was because of H-1B issues. But anyways, I had plans of getting my own startup, which was called Postfold. So I co-founded it with another alumni from Northeastern, who is now my brother-in-law. So that we had to phase out in COVID due to various reasons. But parallelly, I was also working on this business, FA, which was founded by my mother and co-founded by my father. So I would work all day at Postfold, and in the evening I had a stint that I had to implement an ERP software. So I would do that in the evening. But during COVID time, I went full-time into the family business, as the family business needed more help. My dad's side, he had his own business, but he was going through separation with his partners in that business. So I had to take on more responsibility, and that also gave me a lot of learning. And yeah, that is my journey so far. And yeah.
So you've already hinted a little bit, but from a career perspective, what have each of you gained from your families?
So, I can answer that first. One of the first things I would say is humility, ethics in the form of trust, respect, and the value of relationships. Relationships in the, all three segments, which is your stakeholders, internal as well as external. One is, of course, your family, your employees, your suppliers, and your customers all play a very, very important role. In fact, in the morning, Mr. Farhad was mentioning the vital importance in COVID period. All of our businesses in India, which were family run, one of the first things we all had to think about was, before we even think about ourselves, was our employees. Or how we take care of them, what happens. We as an organization did not lay off even a single person. We didn't have any sales for 45 days at that time, but we decided that the first thing that we will protect is our employees. But 45 days later, we were all back in the factory. And we were the first factory back home that was, which started up with 50% the first week, and the second week we were back at 100%. And it was because we were able to maintain our relationships, and same on the customer side, and we were in full force within 1 month of the government lifting restrictions.
Oh, I love that story.
So now coming to your question, values, trust, humility, that is something that I've learned from the family. And the other thing is I went to ISB right after, I think, middle of me working in the family business because I had done sciences, I wanted some, education in the business world. So I went to Indian School of Business for family business. And over there, Professor Kavil and Professor John Watt from Kellogg, they had structured this program a long time ago. And it taught us about family, business, and ownership, how you keep all of those parts different. Though they are very intermingled, but you keep them separate at all parts. I'm still learning every day, but yeah, that is something that I'm learning so far, and I learn from the family every day.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Vidhan.
No, Aashray put that very well. I think just to add to what he said, to me, there were, of course, some tangible benefits of being close to the family business, which meant like access to suppliers, our factories, our plant network, our distribution base. All of these things were quite helpful. I think the more profound impact that the business had on me was in how I think about my personal motivations and my aspirations with the business, in that when we were involved with it, like I don't, for any point in time, it was never me thinking about or what this does for me, what the money this makes for me, or so on. It always felt like stewardship rather than like, something that you would extract from. And I think that has played into my personal motivations as well, where like suddenly the pursuit of financial capital feels not as meaningful, but the pursuit of building institutions that last suddenly feel much more challenging, much more inspiring. And so that is something that has come as a result of being involved with in our business, which is now 65 years old, and so something that really hits.
Excellent. So you must have faced some challenges. So can you share some of the challenges in working with your family businesses?
Yeah. So you see, challenges are always opportunities. But yes, I think for this context in this room, there are challenges, especially when you're working in your own business. But I see more opportunities. The number one challenge, has been adopting into the culture. Like most of us who are in the US, going back to India, it is a culture shift. You have to get back used to the same culture that you were before coming to the US. And also as the second gen or the next gen in the business, there is a lot of culture mind shift. So that was number one. For example, if in the business I want to implement something, I may not be able to explain to everyone what are the advantages, why we should be doing it. So that is, the culture was number one. Number two was, I would say, when you're wearing someone's and stepping into someone else's footsteps, maintaining that kind of credibility with customers, with your own old employees, which have been there as family, like for 20 plus years. We are a 25-year-old business, so most of the employees have been there since day one. So adopting to them and attaining your own credibility. So that was challenge number two. And challenge number three has been practical challenges, which, for example, as decades progress, you have macro situations. The number one on the cards has been tariffs. I mean, I would not talk too much, but yes, it is a challenge where you have to continuously, because there are macro conditions which are trying to disrupt your business, so you have to be ready for them. And number two has been in the Indian landscape itself. We've had a lot of implications, and the government has been very active. So for example, we had GST that came in 2017. It is an indirect tax. So we had to pretty much repurpose, re-implement all of our systems at that time. And of course, COVID, that was a challenge that came, but it came with a lot of learnings.
I think two things have been quite challenging with the family business. One is maintaining multiple relationships with the same people. So your father is not just your father, but he's also your boss, and he's also your mentor.
Right.
Your cousin is a colleague at work. He is maybe a competitor to being the heir, and he's also your lifelong best friend. And so there's all of these things, and managing those relationships with the various hats, I think that is quite challenging. And I also found it hard to separate work and personal lives. Oftentimes, as the years go on, oftentimes families have separations and so on. And I think it requires a level of emotional maturity to be able to separate the impact of what happened in the business versus the relationships later that evening when you're having dinner with them. And so, to me, those were two things that I found to be quite challenging.
So the next generation, it often brings new perspectives and new ideas to their family business. What has been your role in fostering innovation?
So innovation, again, is a very broad term. I would say that I will break it down into a few segments of where I could innovate in the business. For example, people strategy, implementing KPIs. We never had any KPIs in the business, so I was taught that in ISB. So you must have KPIs. Systems, I was given the task that we have to implement an ERP system. So through that, we could actually have access to data, save a lot of redundancies, make better decisions. And honestly, I learned a lot just about the business. The other is business plan and business models. So we were only doing home textiles and only one market. So over there, we diversified into the European market. So European market was my baby. That was the first project that I got from a business standpoint, other than just learning and making some operating decisions. So we started working with Zara, and then we grew into the European market because we were very, very heavy on one market. And as far as product is concerned, we also innovated a lot in the product, like from making simple products into very highly embellished, very value-added products. Now, for example, if you go to any Banana Republic store, anything that is embroidered is coming from our factory back in India. Could be men or women. Those are some examples of innovation. And Vidhan,
Yeah, for me, I had innovation happen too, internally and externally. Firstly was like when I was starting my company, I thought like, with families, it's often harder to do because there's set in place structures, ways of doing things, and so on and so forth. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to do whatever I can from the outside. I was of course a preferred customer, but I was a customer to the business, and I started a line of footwear, which otherwise would have taken us many years to do, rather quickly, just because it was me doing my own thing on the side without it impacting the P&L, without me having to impact family responsibilities and so on. So I found that to be a very effective path. I think the way my grandfather was my, I think unequivocally my best friend, and he said, look, you can do what you want, like, as long as it's under the family umbrella, you go start your own company, do your own thing, and that gave me a lot more agency in what I choose to do, how I choose to do it. So I found that to be very effective. And from within the organization, it was often tougher. But I think to echo what Aashray said, and something that I've seen, like I've heard a lot of my friends talk about, like their first project is often this ERP implementation, or you put this technology in, and suddenly doing that, you get to experience the breadth of the organization. What is everybody doing? You get to have all these conversations. I don't know, maybe Mr. Davis, you should talk about this next, about ERP implementation as a way to get people involved, just because it's just like such a, you have to go so deep, but also very broad and get very familiar. So I did that, and of course, I think aside from that, my engineering background helped in this kind of stuff that we were trying to do. We were innovating a lot. We were bringing in a lot of new chemistries, and I think my ability to speak the language allowed me to bridge between multiple silos of the organization: sales and engineering and R&D. All of these people are just like constantly, they just don't like each other. And so I think the ability to be able to talk those languages, and I think the privilege of being from the family and therefore being able to be part of those rooms allowed to make this process of innovation move a bit quicker than it would have otherwise.
Excellent. I love a lot of what they're saying. I wish in the spring I teach a class for Next Gens, Family Business Management, and I wish you were here in the spring, because I'd be like, do what they said. It's excellent. It's like perfect. So what advice would you give for the next gen in entering their family business, preparing themselves to work with their family businesses?
The one thing that I found particularly useful is just like to gain legitimacy. I owned a job, I owned a line function, and I owned it quite well in that taking care of supply chain when like our competitors didn't have material. We had material when other people did not. As a result of that, the division that I was involved in grew 100% that first year and 85% the next year. This was, of course, as a result of price inflation, but also us having material when others did not. Being able to see these, being able to celebrate these small wins across the organization, I think suddenly they felt like, okay, fine, there's a legitimate reason for him to be in the room. And I think once you're in the room, then I feel like once you've gained that legitimacy, a lot of things work much more in a much more streamlined way.
Excellent. It sounds like you built it with tiny steps. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think the advice I have is like when you graduate and you have out of college and you have a family business, the number one thing is even though your family business is there, explore something outside. That is something that if you explore something outside, you will first get perspective of how other organizations work. You will level everyone, all your people, all your employees, and feel what they feel. That is number one, explore outside. Number two is, identify your own core competency, that what value will you add to the business. Like for example, I identified it to be data analytics or business development. That was the two competencies I felt I will add to the business, and then we can take a more professionalized path forward. Number three is see what are you feeling from inside. Is it some purpose that is driving you? Is it some legacy issues? Are you just going because of obligation? So like for me, and now I've been in the business 11 years. My sister recently joined 3 years ago. So for us, it is purpose and and also desire to take it forward, maintain the legacy, and also keep innovating as we move forward. So if you can check these three things, you will assess A, the global landscape of other companies, B, you will have the feeling from within that are you even feeling it to go back or not. And the third is, yes, if you're going in, have a plan of action of what you feel you have to implement day zero, and then try and sell it to your board, which could be your family, or if you have professional managers. If you can sell it to them and you are able to get a positive response, you're able to answer their questions, they will ask you, will I make money, how much time you need, and so forth. So if you're able to answer those questions, it's a check. Yeah.
So before we open it up to the audience, words of wisdom. Advice for the next gen, or the young people here, whether they're in a family business or not. What's your advice?
I would say have a mentor. Like I read this book, Good to Great, and I feel everyone should have a mentor. Like as you progress from the operating, there should be an operating manager as well as someone from the academia world. Have a mentor, and you can, other than the family. And of course, and you will have mentors in the family. Like my father is my mentor, and then I have 2 other mentors. But I've been asked to have 1 more mentor so that I can check all the boxes. But that is my advice. And start today. Why even waste time? So don't hesitate to start. Yeah. Start today.
Great advice.
From Aashray is wonderful. I think he's perhaps a great mentor for people to come talk to. But I think for me, along these lines, I didn't report to a member of the family, and I thought that was great just because I was able to fully learn. So I was reporting to a professional director in the company, and so I was truly able to keep some of these relationships separate and also like learn in a way where I'm actually accountable. There's no like, there was a dinner at home, so you didn't do work. No, you have to do what you said you would do, and I think those things continue to keep you accountable, and also you'll learn a lot from people who've been professionals who've been in the organization. And I think the second part of it is something that Aashray touched upon is like being outside, but to know like you need to know what great is to be able to get there. And so oftentimes like if the only thing you've known is your business, it's a rather small pond to be looking at. But once you know what great looks like, I think you have a path to then get there.
So I have to ask a quick follow-up. When you were here at Northeastern, because I even see this with my own students, did you do a co-op in your family's business? What is your advice on that?
For me, my co-op was, I did 1 co-op, I could not do 2, but I did 1 co-op. It was in Toyota, it was outside the family business. But every time I would go back, summer break, I had to do training on the ground. Learn every aspect of the business as an internship. So sometimes 2 months, sometimes 4 months. Learn about your own business, go to the ground, and report to someone else, not your family. I think I echo that with him. So, but the second co-op, yes, that couldn't happen. The first co-op was outside the organization.
Yeah, for me, 100% not. Like I don't see why you would do that. Like I just don't see any reason why that's the right way. That's the right path. Just because it's a 6-month commitment, unless there's something like extraordinary happening in the business which you need to learned from at the time. I just think that these are short 6-month opportunities. You have very less strings attached when you're doing this. You're in college, and also the rigor of going through the job hunting process to know what it means to interview for somebody, what it means to show up to work the first day. I think that builds a lot of empathy for when you will become an employer at some point. But to be able to know what's on the other side, like, yeah, I think you should get rejected a few times. You should see what a nice rejection email feels like. You should see what it feels like to have a boss who welcomes you. Yeah. So 100%, like, I would not work in the family business for my co-op.
Excellent. I might have you come back for my next gen class. All right, so any questions from the audience?
And ask as many questions,
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the panel. But then my question would be for you. How did you propose the idea of starting Cortex to your family business? How were the contrasting views? How did you handle their opinion?
Yeah.
No, stick to this, not to your thing.
I think, like, for me, for me, it was about first building conviction in myself. And I think think of this as pitching to other investors, where first, like, you need to see the vision, you need to believe in it and gain conviction in it. And I think as soon as I was able to do that, that shows, and then people want to support. I think I was lucky to have a family that allows us to explore what we want, our passions. And I also think that on a more philosophical level, like, if they've worked so hard to allow us to pursue our dreams, like the previous generations have worked so hard to allow us to do that. So I think as long as I'm able to show why I want to do what I want to do, it feels to me like talking to any other investor, like why we should be trying something new. And if not, like, I'll come back. And I think, like, I've seen other people put together, okay, look, I'm going to work on this for 3 years. If I'm not able to hit this benchmark, like, I understand. So I think here I was a little lucky to have a family that's been quite supportive.
Hi, I'm Yang Liu from Fordham University, and thank you for the great discussion. And I'm very curious about your experience of introducing some new technology to your family business. Nowadays, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. It seems that a lot of work can be done by AI, by ChatGPT, etc. And as new generation, theoretically, you are more open-minded to all such technology. But your senior colleagues, your family members may hold some different opinions. So I'm curious about your experience regarding the introduce of new technology to your family business. Have you encountered some challenges, and what's some suggestions you may have for younger people to convince your family members to accept some new technologies?
Yeah. You want me to take that?
Yeah, start.
Okay, so great question. I would say when it comes to new technologies, first, I think they have to be made part of the DNA, be it AI, ChatGPT, or anything else that comes. Like in our organization, we had 2 or 3 board meetings where we decided that we are going to spend this much budget on technology every year, and we are going to see where all we are spending money or resources, where something like a ChatGPT or AI could do, and we could, so we saw in our organization, we had operators who were just keying in data. So, we are now implementing AI so that we don't, and we reduce almost 10% of the jobs that are doing redundant jobs, but they can be upskilled to do better jobs or more technical jobs. So I would say it is about communication, and I think in our organization, our family and all our professional managers are very open to it. And I feel ChatGPT has a great application. It can definitely, it acts like my assistant every day. So that is one thing I can say. But you have to convince each other and have whatever you're trying to do. If you can sell it to 5 people, that means you can sell it to your business. Mm-hmm.
I'll also add to what Aashray said in that I think like adoption of AI looks quite similar across other organizations. Perhaps family businesses are slightly tougher in that there's a lot of this is how we do things around here, and that's what makes adoption of this technology hard. The approach that I found to be particularly useful is like, we've been running this boot camp. We do a Gen AI boot camp, which is just like, okay, because people in the organization are all at various levels in their understanding of this technology. So what we do is, first step is to bring everybody to the same page. Because some people are like, look, man, I come to work, I go back home, I cook for my kids, I read a book, and I go to bed. Like, every time I hear about AI, it's gone somewhere else. And so the first thing we did was bring people to the same page. And so this boot camp would be like, what are LLMs? How do they think? How do they operate? And then we made them do exercises together. So we'd make them do an exercise which got them quite familiar with this technology. And as far as AI is concerned, to me, I have great conviction that once people see that aha moment there, where, whoa, this can actually change my life, after that, there's going to be a pull rather than a push from you. But I think that the pull is very important because you need a lot of trust in implementing this technology. The reason it's not working in a lot of places is just because there's this top-down effort which I just don't think works.
Hi, thank you so much for your thoughts and all the sort of advice, and specifically coming from someone that's been in our shoes not that long ago. And my question is sort of to that extent itself, is that how did you think your sort of abroad education or this experience that you got in terms of studying at Northeastern or studying abroad as a whole and taking time away from that ecosystem of your family or your family business, how did that maybe impact your mindset and then impact what you had ended up doing henceforth after that? And do you think it added a certain value, or do you think any experiences here that maybe we should consider or we should look at added value to what you ended up doing in the future?
I can start. For me, first thing was just the independence of being able, like I feel like when you're at home, especially in India, like it's quite sheltered. You're in your bubbles. Like there's a lot of things which are, and so now, with co-op, like for me, like at school, my goal was to try to push myself to do like things that I just would not do otherwise. Like how do I make myself, put myself in positions of discomfort? So like earlier, like I'd have to think a lot before I travel. Where am I going? Now it's like, okay, you are leaving in an hour. Okay, I'm leaving in an hour. It's happening. And so to me, the ability to do that, to be able to, so I traveled, but got a chance to what it means to be acclimatizing with the locals, being able to speak the language. I think those things helped in international trade later on when I was working with our suppliers, with our customers. But going with that intention of gaining some familiarity and also putting myself in otherwise uncomfortable positions, I thought was most impactful.
Yeah. I'll just add a couple of things. I think he said it very nicely. But some of the things I feel now is, coming over here is more school of life. It is way more than education. You learn basics that you may not learn in your comfort zone in the same country. But coming here, especially in the US, the kind of ecosystem, the kind of platform, you get to rally your own ideas and also take back something that only you can imagine that what the limit is. So that is something that I would like to add here. And there's a lot of credibility. And then, of course, at the end, the kind of connections you build with your peers, with your professors. And like in our family, we could actually, we could have a wedding in the family just because of coming to Northeastern. So those are some examples. Yeah.
Were there any classes or clubs you took? You didn't take my next gen class, but of course I'm gonna push my next gen class. But were there any clubs you belonged to that you'd recommend?
Yeah. I love the Mosaic ecosystem. I did like Northeastern has this like very inbuilt culture of student-led, like whether it be at their clubs, on the entrepreneurship ecosystem, and so on. So I think the faculty is of course very supportive of that. They allow for us to do all these things. So I think student leadership, phenomenal way to work with your peers. I think like that's perhaps an analogy to working with your siblings, where you're like, well, I don't actually have to report to you, and so then how do you get people to work with you, but also for you? So for me, IDEA was a big part of my experience at Northeastern. All of the Mosaic ecosystem I found like quite helpful. And also the global experiences that Northeastern gives, like just being able to do dialogues, being able to do like, just they have such unique opportunities to do things which otherwise, yeah, I was studying chemical engineering in the south of Spain. We'd be in class in the morning, doing our homework at the beach, and then next day we'd be at a factory. Like I thought these are all just like just phenomenal learning opportunities, which I'd try to go abroad like as much as I can.
Anything, Aashray?
Yeah, I was involved with more science clubs that time. Astrophysics, there was an astrophysics club. But yes, it was about learning from each other, and that is something, peer-to-peer learning is the best learning. So that is what I like to add. Otherwise, I think he covered it very well. Yeah.
I have a slightly different question here. You spent a lot of time here in the United States and got used to the system here. And when you went back, I'm sure the things have changed a lot now. But you still have, I'm assuming, challenge-wise, dealing with the bureaucracy, dealing with the permits, licenses, and you talked about innovation and challenges. Are these things challenges to you for your innovation? And if so, what do you do?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think that is something that when you actually come here to the US, that is something you may take for granted. But it's when you go back, bureaucracy and all the, all of the departments that we have to deal with the government, I think that is a great learning in itself. In our company, I have managed 2 raids. So yes, I think that was something that I would not have learned if I was not doing business myself. But I feel that, eventually as a learning curve, it is part of business. So that is all I can say. But that was the learning only India can give you. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would add is like there was definitely for me, like you'd be standing in line here and then you'd land in India and suddenly you have to stand much closer to the people in front of you because otherwise somebody's going.
See, it's the population density. So that is something that, is only peculiar. But since I have gone back to India, I think since 2015 to now, it has only changed for the good.
Aww.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. India teaches you a lot of patience as well. I feel like that's a great skill. Like to be like people are honking at you, I'm like, okay, like what can I do? I can't go in front. So I think just that ability, that the patience, I think of it as like this is building my patience. I'm learning how to deal with this. Like, and that's worked quite well.
I love it. It's good. Thank you so much. That's so good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Audience.